Welcome to Growth Talk. I'm your host, John Early. In this series, we're going to talk about the economic news in a long-term context that helps us understand how to restore the widespread, sustainable prosperity that our nation used to have. We had a job report come out recently, and there were about 147 million non-farm payroll jobs. That's over 900,000 more than the month before. That exact number isn't really important because it's an estimate. It's going to get revised next month and the month after that. And in a few years, when they have complete data, we'll get a final number. And also they'll recalibrate the estimation techniques. The main thing the jobs number confirms is that the economy was growing robustly 4 months ago. If you look at the annual rate of job growth, that's you take the average number of payroll jobs the last 12 months, you'll find that it was 1.8% smaller than the average from the 12 months prior to that. And if you plot the annual rate of job growth, you'll find, and against the rate of GDP growth, you'll find that GDP leads jobs by about 4 months. That's where the strongest correlation is. So it really doesn't tell us much about the future. But in the context, it's important. We in the COVID recession, which only lasted 2 months in March and April of 2020, we lost 22.4 million jobs. We've recovered about 16.7 million. We have about 5.7 million more to recover. On the other hand, the economy has already had a complete recovery. Second quarter GDP set a new high in production of goods and services. Now, what that means is that we've had rapid growth in productivity. The amount of goods and services that an hour of work produces has grown substantially. And that's good news for our future, but it's also typical for the early stages of a recovery and expansion. Normally the strongest growth in the business cycle comes in the early stages of a recovery and expansion. At least that's when it typically comes. And part of what happens in a downturn is that the businesses and industries that are the least effective at satisfying the needs and wants of people go out of business. And the successful companies, the ones who are going to last, pare back the things they were doing that didn't make as much sense, going forward. They reduced the employees who added the least to their vision for the future. Downturns cause pain and contemplation. When things are going great, it breeds complacency. When things are going poorly, it breeds contemplation. It leads to pondering. People who are unemployed will ask themselves, how can I best use my talents? What can I do that will provide value and income to me? How can I provide value to others? Where is my opportunity? And it's out of this contemplation, out of pain, that the strong growth comes. It's like the old saying, from the ashes of disaster grow the roses of success. And one of the industries that is going to have to adapt the most and learn the most, contemplating the most, is the industry on bars and restaurants. Going into the COVID recession, there were about 12 million people employed in bars and restaurants. And in 2 months, it was cut down to 6 million. And so they lost, close to half the jobs disappeared. And they've added back about 5 billion. They're still down about 1 million jobs. And a lot of those people that had worked in the bar and restaurant, who had done that hard contemplation about where their future lies, decided it wasn't in the working in bars and restaurants. They've moved on. And the bar and restaurant industry is adapting. They're figuring out, they're figuring out how to make working there a more attractive proposition. They're raising wages. They're giving benefits. I've heard of signing bonuses to work in bars and restaurants. It's an industry that's evolving. And that's part of what we all need to do as a society. We need to look at what works and what doesn't. And the downturn we've had is one of those opportunities to figure out what works. In the last 40 years, we've had the slowest 40-year period of growth since the 40 years ending in 1939. And the share of the economic pie going to workers is near the smallest it's ever been. It hit its lowest level 3 or 4 years ago. And so there are lots of people who are working who aren't financially secure, and then there are others who aren't working because the incentive to work isn't there because pay is low. And that corresponds with the weak growth we've had. And as a society and as voters, we have an opportunity to look at what will make that better. And that's what this series, Growth Talk, is about. Hope you'll tune in and watch it next time.